pardon me, having the live stream with you the other day. And I want to talk real quick here. There's nobody on yet, but I expect a couple of you here in a minute. So this is about tree stands and the why and the where and the when you move them. So this tree stand right here is an old wooden tree stand that I built. It's got some bike wheels on it. And it's been in this tree for, I'm going to say 10 years. Off and on. I do bring it down, clean it up, check it. And you're going to say, well, why? Why? Well, because it's sitting on the edge of this. There's a great big thicket over here that's east of that tree stand that deer go back to in the mornings. It's sitting on top of this hayfield / food plot. They can be both. It's right here at a corner, and it's on a ravine, a real deep ravine. The deer like to move through that ravine. So why is it here? Well, of course the deer are going to use the food plot / hayfield, but this is why it's here. That goes right down into the ravine. And there's trails running on both sides of the ravine and down the middle like this. So you would think that over the years that the deer would know that stands there. Well, some of them do. A few of the does do. However, it's hunted so irregularly that it's a footnote to them, especially to the bucks that show up in the area. And what's funny is we get odd east winds, northeast, east winds in the fall, and that thicket over there holds a lot of deer, and they come down a river valley over here, the creek valley, for miles. And then back here into the farm, back this way for a mile. So to combat that tree stand getting busted, what I've done is I've gone down the tree line here on the ravine, and you wouldn't think that deer use this, but it's unbelievable the number of bucks and does that use this. Even though there's a road on the other side of that hayfield and a car going down it, you would think, oh no, well, they can't see back in here. And so this food plot / hayfield I'm in is hidden until you get over the hill up here or on the other side, especially when the leaves are on. This is the tree stand that's here to combat those animals knowing where you're at. And here's the funny part. I cleaned this all up so I'd have good shots and stuff. And it didn't take the deer very long to put and lay down, one season to lay down this trail that goes cutting back through here and down in through. It took them one season to utilize this area that I cleaned out. This had trees just like this all the way out here. And I cut them back and shoved them back and made it comfortable to shoot out of. And mostly we have west or northwest winds. But oddly, we get a lot of east winds, and that makes this golden. So when do you put those up? Well, look here. Here's another with a scrape. There is a scrape on the ground they're still using. That's a community scrape. And look at the trail coming right up through here. It's truly amazing. I mean, I'm not quite 20 yards from that tree stand. And this side of the road on the farm, and that tree stand there, and the old wooden stand never got hunted this year. So these are not going to get moved. They're going to get checked and reset right where they're at. But those deer don't know that tree stand right there is there. And they're making a community scrape right there on the ground. I mean, it gets pretty good. And oddly, the old wooden stand down here that we're going to walk up to is more or less a decoy, but can still be hunted. And there's a lot of deer that walk by that tree stand. And they like to bed right here as well. So it's not uncommon, especially during the rut, for a doe to walk into this and try to lose a buck and lay down right here next to the tree stand. And I'll see 4 or 5 bucks out of this tree stand in one morning trying to rouse the same doe. There's a little slip trail right here going back in there, as you can see. But the neat part is, how would I hunt this, you say, with a different wind? Boy, this is a tremendous trail. Well, right straight over there, straight across in those 2 trees, there is a ladder stand that I put up last year. And that is to pick up this movement and not be right there and risk getting busted by swirling winds. Traditionally, they'll come down into the bottom of this ravine to move. They'll feed out here and chase does all morning and all evening. But when it's time to move to bed, or to bed from the backside of the farm, or way over here miles from the farm, they'll cut in here and they'll cut right in here or right in over here and go right down the middle of the ravine. So I have 2 options at the head of this ravine in the middle of this hayfield. Too many guys set themselves up for failure with just one option. Keep your options open. You don't have to take tree stands down on private ground every year, especially if you're not hunting them very much. Hi, Chris Hunt, how are you? Yeah, that's it. That's where you decked that buck a couple of years ago. And I'm glad to see you. So when to put out tree stands, if your state allows it on private ground that you know nobody's going to mess with it, put them out now. Leave them out. Because this food and this travel corridor, these aren't going to change. These trails, like right here, aren't going to change. And deer do what deer do. And especially big old wise bucks. You know, they'll come down in here into the ravine out of these crop fields way out here. And then they will hang out down here and wait to wind a doe from either direction. And they're safe, they think. You don't have to be in a giant woods to find big bucks and to lay really good traps for them. This ravine is maybe an 1/8 mile long, surrounded by hay on both sides with a road that goes around it. And the deer spend their time in here a lot in the fall. They bed here, they breed here, they feed here, and it rarely gets bothered. Like I said, last year we didn't even bother this. None of us hunted this. A couple years ago, Chris, my son, killed one. I killed one a few years before that, and some big ones. So I think I've got a video of a really nice big buck I killed out here from a tree stand I had right there. But I found with that tree stand, that isn't our property, that thicket. And I was running a risk of losing them over here into the thicket, or worse, them moving through the thicket and picking up my wind. Generally, the wind goes down over this hill, or it goes back out this way straight over the ravine, and that's why you can get away with this stand sometimes with an east wind. But generally speaking, you want a north wind with this tree stand because it sets on the end of a ravine. The hayfield goes around, and those bucks go down in here and just hang out. So remember, where you set your stands on private ground shouldn't change year to year, especially if you've looked it out and checked the trails and found the bedding like this. you're never going to beat every deer. You're going to get winded, and don't freak out. But if you're busting all the deer to get, say, to this tree stand, it's time to do what I did and set another tree stand down the line or across the ravine. If you're busting your deer walking in, find a different place to be. That would be the only reason I would move a tree stand, because you don't have to hunt it over and over again unless you have small acreage. I just keep adding blinds and tree stands. I have 3 or 4 stands that are on standby, that if I get a buck that's, say, using this island of trees and moving along this side, but for whatever reason won't come over here during archery season, I'll just simply set up in that island of trees, or up and along through this fence line. So stay mobile, but also learn how to park and be comfortable with where you're at. A lot of guys will swear to you that that doesn't work, but my walls say otherwise. So just remember, hunt your hunt and hunt your land where the deer are. Don't try to make the deer be somewhere that they don't belong. The deer love this area. They love to bed over here. They love to bed over here along this wood line. They like to get down in the bottom to move to Never Never Land. They can walk for 2 miles that direction and never break the woods other than to cross 2 roads. So something like a ravine out in the middle of a hay field or a crop field that's got some heavy cover to one side or the other, a creek line behind it, these are killer spots for great big old bucks. So thanks for joining me. Hope the replay crowd enjoys it. Just wanted to put this out there for you guys. It's okay to move tree stands, but when the deer are still using the same paths and the same bedding year after year, unless they're busting you on it or you hunt it too much, you don't have to move it. You can put another one up down the line a little ways from it if you want to. And that's how you trick them. Try putting a tree stand 50 or 100 yards on down the line from where you've had a tree stand for a while, and find out how many deer walk right by you. Hey, you know, hunt outdoors. That's what we do. And this is all about ideas, sharing ideas. So guys, put in some comments. Let me know how you feel about it. Ask questions. I'll try to get back with you and answer them. So see y'all later. Bye, Chris.